Hey, it's David Angeweeb, and welcome to another Thought Thursday. Now, this is a free-form show. It's loose and it's easy, but today I decided I would collect my thoughts on this subject matter before getting into it. And today's topic is Twitter versus BitClout. Now, I'm not putting any of this forward as like, this is my final conclusion on all of this. I will never change my mind. Not at all. I probably will. And maybe people will listen to this and chime in and say, hey, how about this? And what about that? And did you try this? So I'm open, right? I'm going to stay open. But just based on what I'm seeing right now, these are my thoughts on which one is coming out on top at this moment in time in February 2022. So the first criteria that I want to consider is engagement. So in 2020 and 2021, I took Twitter seriously. I made it my mission to grow my primary Twitter profile, which is David A. Weeb. So I scheduled tweets, I retweeted other influencers, I set up collaborations, I gave shoutouts and left comments, I kept a list of value-adding users to connect and interact with, and I really did my best to schedule like 10 amazing tweets per day. I was just following the method that I read in the ebook. It was like, yeah, use platitudes, but you want to summarize, you don't want to copy. So I was like, great, this is what I'm going to do. And I did my best to just like be on top of it daily. And what did that get me? Well, not nothing, okay? I got something out of it. It got me about 30 to 40 followers, and a few ebook sales, some relationships that have led to collaborations short and long term. So, I'm thankful for all of it. I'm not here to sneeze at it, but the results don't really justify the effort. And I honestly was starting to think, it's gotta be me, right? Like, I am doing something so completely wrong to keep getting these results in every area of life. And now I'm rethinking that. Now that I'm seeing some traction on a few social networks in a few different places, I'm changing my mind. And so I'll talk more about this later too, but all that's needed on BitClout to get engagement, at least for me, is to go on a clout storm, which is really the equivalent of tweet storm. It's like posting multiple times within a short period of time, and then I start to see a lot of engagement. So keeping in mind that my follower count on BitClout is a little over 50, it's nowhere near what it is on Twitter, where it's over 1,900. The clear winner in terms of engagement right now is BitClout, and I will be elaborating on that a little bit. Anyway, the number 2 criteria that I wanted to consider was association, and by that I mean your network or the people that you're engaged with. After all, the people do make a difference in where you are. There's a reason why Facebook was so loved early on. It's because people were able to connect with people they knew, and even people that from the past that they may not have been able to connect with otherwise from high school or college or what have you. So, it took some work, but after a while, I started finding sharp people on Twitter. That was a really cool thing as I was getting more serious about the platform, that I started to see, their content was value adding. It made for great retweets whenever I wanted to curate content. And generally, I found they were willing to interact with me too. So these weren't just like bot accounts or people scheduling tweets, which I'm sure they were scheduling, but they were actually interacting with me, not all the time, but most of the time. So I soon figured out that this was basically the money Twitter culture. And it's a great idea utilizing social media to build your business, sell your ebooks and courses, and collaborate with others in making that happen, building your own tweet lists and networks. But what you start to figure out is that most people in money Twitter are already connected with each other, and it's really mighty cliquish. You could read their ebooks, imitate their strategies, do what they're doing, and still be on the outside of the social circle, which doesn't make you look really good. Not to mention not making the income they're making. Some people claiming to be making $6,000, $7,000 in money Twitter, if you're even making a dime. So I think that's what you generally call a false economy, but do call me out if I'm wrong on this. So there are sharp people on Twitter, but you do have to go looking for them. They're great to interact with, but you can't expect them to just give you a hand up without really taking the time to build a relationship with them. While BitClout's user base is obviously smaller at this moment, per capita, I think there are more smart, ambitious, talented people on BitClout than Twitter. I think the majority of people on BitClout sort of see the potential even if they don't fully understand it, just like me. And that means you have a better chance of connecting with like-minded people who value the things you value on BitClout. So BitClout wins association. The next criteria is incentivization, and that basically refers to like, hey, what are you getting out of being on this social media platform? The old school way was basically I get a little bit of traffic or I get some engagement, and people were kind of satisfied with that. But we're moving into a new age now. So what has Twitter done recently to incentivize anyone to stay on their platform? I'm asking, I really want to know. They haven't done anything for me. I'm wondering if they've done anything for you. Maybe if you use their latest lead balloon feature that's destined to be scrapped a few months from now, and just look at all the initiatives Twitter's tried and failed in this past year, maybe you can get the algorithm working in your favor if you use their latest feature. I don't know, because I haven't tried, but I did try just about everything else. I used platitudes and blog posts and graphics and quotes and pictures and newsletters and GIFs, videos, lives, polls, and more. Social media platforms at the very least in the past used to dangle carrots in front of you to keep you on their platform. Even if their platforms weren't adequately incentivized, you still got a like here, a follow there, a few retweets, some love and appreciation to keep you going, something to show you that you were moving in the right direction. And these days, well, it's not great. Most days I get 1 or 2 interactions on Twitter, if that, and my sister still schedules 5 tweets per day on Twitter. And this is the problem that a lot of dating apps and things like that don't understand either. It's like, if you got a date on their app within the first 10 days of using it, we'll even say the first 30 days of using it, well, you'd be like hooked on it. You would want to keep using it. But they're like, oh no, pay for more exposure. Like on day 1. It's like asking for your hand in marriage before you even have the first date. It's terrible. It's bad practice. Show people what your platform can do for them, and then they'll be hooked on it. But they're not going to be hooked on it or be willing to pay you a damn cent if you don't incentivize them in some fashion. And I feel like Facebook and Instagram is mostly the same way now. They want you to spend. They want you to spend on anything and everything. And their ad platforms are terrible. And I'm referring specifically to Facebook, but if you haven't used it recently, it's mind-boggling how badly it's been built. We don't need engineers building this stuff. They keep cluttering shit up. We need humans who understand human behaviors building ad platforms. IQ means squat. It just does if you can't create something real people can actually use. BitClout gives you a creator coin, and that immediately gives you a sense that on some level, you are valuable to the platform. You're appreciated. I don't pretend to understand all there is to know about crypto and blockchain and decentralized networks, but I've read enough and explored enough to know that there are some cool things happening. And one of my first exposures to that was Odyssey, and I just keep learning as I go. Odyssey, it seems, is starting to remove the carrots as well, so I guess it's just a matter of time before most social networks, if not all of them, kind of get to that point of like, hey, now you got to pay for it. But for the time being on BitClout, anytime I go on a clout storm, like I said earlier, I get a lot of engagement, a lot of likes and diamonds and comments and people investing in my creator coin, and most of the time multiple follows as well. So I feel like I'm valued, like I'm contributing something that people care and the platform cares. I have a way smaller following BitClout, and it is by far more engaged. BitClout is the winner in terms of incentivization. Now let's consider innovation. Twitter likes to think they're innovative, but they haven't done anything tangible to improve user experience in quite a while. They keep trying to add features, but without actually looking at how to improve their user experience. They added Twitter Spaces, but there are already multiple apps and networks that do that way better. They added a monetization opportunity and newsletter functionality with review, and I really like this idea personally. But building another list without any carrots, like I talked about earlier, at least to me, is just more busy work. How the hell am I going to build more of a list without extra algorithmic help from the platform? They've been experimenting with a lot of other features, but they can't seem to get most of them right. And they still don't have one thing people have been begging for: a simple way to edit your tweets. Could you add that feature, Twitter? That's something people actually want. Most of their initiatives seem to go up in flames every single year, so they got a lot of stuff to figure out. Their algorithm isn't the least bit favorable towards a long-time user like me. I'm pretty sure I've been on the platform since 2009. What is my reason for even continuing with Twitter at this point beyond the minuscule amount of traffic it sends to my websites? With BitClout, even in the short time I've been using the platform, I've seen improvements with conversation threads. There are fun and easy tutorials built into the platform to show you how it works, and the more you use it, the more you understand the opportunity. In terms of innovation, BitClout is winning. Now, final criteria I want to consider here is vulnerability. How vulnerable are these platforms to being shut down? And with Twitter, there's some pending lawsuits, and I don't think it looks the least bit favorable to them unless the laws change in the time that things finally get to the point of going to courts. Google has also been buying up modules of Twitter without investing in the whole thing, and at some point it'll probably end up in Google's hands, but it doesn't sound like they're really that interested in owning Twitter and developing Twitter. So that's not looking like a favorable thing either. It's going to stay in the immediate. It's such a part of culture, and it's been built up over time. So Twitter's not going anywhere right away, but in the next few years, I don't know. With BitClout, government doesn't like cryptocurrency or decentralized networks. Or at the very least, they don't like ones that other people have control over. They want to leverage the technology for themselves, but really don't like it when they don't have total and complete control over it. That's why you keep hearing about all this cryptocurrency is for terrorists nonsense. They're really trying to slam it and make it look bad. But I think just based on the criteria explored, in terms of vulnerability, BitClout and Twitter are about equal. I do think it's not looking as great for Twitter, but overall, you just never know. So in conclusion, BitClout wins in every area besides vulnerability, where it's on equal footing with Twitter. I even had a conversation with a Twitter user recently, and she was like, yeah, Twitter, I really like going on this platform. And I said, well, if you enjoy this, but you don't really seem to be getting the results, which is what she indicated, I said, why not check out BitClout? It's way cooler than this. And so those are my thoughts on Twitter versus BitClout. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll weigh in with your thoughts.